It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is a Monday morning. We are your feel-good breakfast show. Thanks for joining us. It's time for our relationship chat with Dr. Eve, and today a very interesting topic. Sometimes it happens in a couple's relationship that you need to live apart. Maybe somebody's career is moving elsewhere, something is making them go to another city, another country. And then, of course, the question now is, how do you rekindle that love when you connect together again, when you meet up again and start living in the same place? So that is the big question that we're taking.
That is the big question, indeed. And our lines are open if you've got a comment or a question for Dr. Eve. It's 021-430-9881. Dr. Eve, a very interesting topic.
Yes.
Long distance.
I know all about that.
I was about to say, Dr. Eve knows all about long distance, and my initial question is that, is long distance dating or relationship a good idea to begin with?
Kat, you got me on hot seat straight away. Is it a good idea? I think that in our country, we are so used to it because of migrant labour. People are so used to having been forced to live separately from each other in a very sad kind of way. So people have adjusted to that in a certain way.
Yeah.
As we've moved into more modern life, there's choices that are made. Where is the money? So let's chase the money. And so men and women have been forced almost, or still throughout the world, not only in our country, to live in separate countries, to live in separate cities, and have learned how to have long-distance situations going forward.
Yeah.
It helps enormously today compared to like 30 years ago because of technology.
Yeah.
So I think that long-distance relationships have a lot of advantages. And I say that because when I listen to couples in my therapy room, they seem to really struggle so much to live together. And I think that there is an ability to have a long-distance relationship even when you're living together. There has to be what we always talk about, the clinical term of it is individuation, where you have to be individuals living in a relationship. But I'm kind of sidetracking. Long-distance relationships are challenging. There's no doubt about it. So we have the long-distance dating that has to happen. And then we have to have the reuniting that happens when maybe you're coming back together again after a certain period of time.
Yeah.
So those are the two elements we're going to be discussing. You know, how do you manage in a long-distance relationship, and then how do you manage when you get back together again?
Because I know a lot of relationships, for those who never planned on having a long-distance relationship, there comes a time where your partner might need to move away for work or something, and then it becomes a long-distance relationship. What are some of the things you need to discuss before making that jump?
You know, the skill that one requires mostly is an ability to communicate. And if you're not able to communicate when you're together, it's going to be way more difficult when you're further away. So you have to have something called commitment. Commitment, setting aside a certain amount of time every single day to keep that thread of intimacy going with each other if you're going to be having this long-distance situation. And if you drop that thread, there's absolutely no way you can feel that you are united or attached to each other in that relationship. So it also can be quite beneficial because if you think of everyday people living together, there is a taken for granted of we're going to be together, we're going to chat later, and maybe you don't end up chatting later. But when you're long distance, you want to kind of plan times. Like every morning and every evening, you do want to have a meet and greet situation, like a ritual of we're going to connect at the beginning and the end of every single day. You also want to make sure that you have ongoing chats during the day, but sharing significant events that are happening for you. Sharing things like what are the movies that you're watching, what kind of music are you listening to, sending photos of each other. You have to keep in each other's worlds all the time. So it can be quite a rich communication compared to your everyday people who are living together and, as I say, taking for granted that we know each other.
Okay, well, we're going to keep our lines open. 021-430-9881. How do you rekindle the love once you are back in sync after a long-distance relationship?
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
All right, we're back again with Dr. Eve. Relationship chat on a Monday. And we're talking about how to rekindle that love, that synchronicity in your relationship, especially after long distance for a period of time. And earlier on, you were saying it's important to keep that communication, letting each other into each other's worlds in the most intimate ways possible so that you don't feel like you're growing apart, Dr. Eve.
Yeah. The thing that also you take for granted, but I'm going to say it, you have to have trust. You have to have an absolute boundary, or you have to sit down and have parameters around this is what our boundaries are going to be, this is what our expectations of each other have to be. But completely right, Kat. You have to keep each other in the richness of the world that you're experiencing. Also, you have to visit each other to see where am I living, what is my home environment, what are my friends, what is my work, who are my colleagues when we are separate from each other. You also have to, if you are somebody who've got children together and you're sharing children, you're sharing finances, those are things that have to be discussed on a daily basis, because when the person comes back home again, this person who's been left behind has had the full responsibility of single parenting and making all kinds of decisions. I mean, I work with this a lot. When people go onto oil rigs and they go away for 6 weeks and then they come back for 4 weeks and they go back away for 6 weeks again, they come back for 4 weeks. And they suddenly feel that they're excluded from their family environment.
Sure.
And how do I adjust to this? Because now, if it's a man who's gone, she has run the home, she's run the finances, she's run the children, and he feels very awkward being integrated again. Which is where, again, technology comes in, where every day there should be communication with children, Skyping, looking, FaceTiming, not just listening to the voices, but actually seeing each other, seeing what you're doing, reading each other's stories, reading each other erotic stories at night if you need to do that.
Is that one of the strategies you encourage?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to do that, especially if there are children around. They need to be face-to-face.
If there aren't children
there
around,
are
so
children.
in mommy-daddy time.
Well, both. If there are children, no, not erotic stories when they're
No, of
children
course.
around.
I'm just talking about you. This is relationship, Dr. Eve. We're talking about mommy and daddy time.
Mommy and daddy
Dim the
time.
lights and read a story.
And then you're not mommy and daddy, then you're just man and woman, or man, woman, woman, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Dim the lights and read the story. And some sex toys if you want. But that's family time.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to keep connected. That's the bottom line of this all. And accept that there's adjustment difficulties. Go ahead. Zoe.
Well, I actually want to touch on the adjustment difficulties, because I can only imagine being in close proximity with your partner, one moves away, and now you're rekindling after having that long distance. There was certain individual growth that took place that can't necessarily be communicated through everyday talking.
Yeah.
How do you then make the adjustments? How do you readjust to now living with someone that's technically grown without you?
I think that would have happened irrespective of. I think that if you're going to be a curious person in the world, you don't have to move to Dubai to actually realize that I'm a curious person. You want to move there because you are curious. And if you've got somebody who's kind of settled and doesn't have the same curiosity, even if you're living together, there's going to be that awareness at some point. Actually, we're not really meant for each other. This relationship is feeling stale and boring, which is why people consciously have to be working on themselves in relationship to keep that relationship alive, which is also why long-distance relationships has advantages, because it allows you to work on yourselves, to become rich or to maintain a rich life. And then when you come together, it can be a very rich relationship because you are fulfilling yourself as individuals, which is what we should be doing.
Yeah.
The other important thing is if you are in a long-distance relationship, you have to plan time together. You have to know that I'm going to see you. Totally. It has to be part of your plan. I'm going to be seeing you in a month or in 2 months' time. You also have to have a long-term vision of saying, we are going to be together long-term. Or in 5 years' time, we are working this way because we want to be living together eventually, or because we're working to make money so that we can create and buy a new home or build a home or have a child. There has to be a short-term vision of we're going to see each other soon, or a long-term vision of this is actually what we're planning towards. Otherwise, it's kind of empty. There's a hollowness, and like, why are we actually spending all this time every day investing into this relationship when I don't know when I'm going to see you again, and I don't know if we really do have a commitment for future.
Sure. All right, so we're going to keep those lines open, 0214309881, and when we come back, we're going to talk about that big day when it arrives. Now, the long distance is now very short distance, and what are the kinds of conversations you need to have to make sure that it works?
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso on SABC3, and it's Monday morning, which means it's time for Dr. Eve as we talk relationships. And this morning we're putting particular focus on when you were in a long-distance relationship and you've now moved back together. You rekindled, reunited. But our lines are also open if you've got a comment or a question. It's 021-430-9881.
Okay, so I would like to read out from Mark Warrior Conqueror, because he said, please, will you read out my tweet? I'm married, I live and work in Pretoria. My wife and children live in Cape Town. I travel twice a month to Cape Town for 4 to 5 days and spend all my time with my family. My wife and video call once a week with my kids. I call them on a regular basis. And he says, definitely trust and commitment must be there from both sides. My wife knows she can trust me, vice versa. Communication, very important. Even with schools and daycare my kids go to, I'm proud of myself to have a loving wife whom I can trust, but most of all, okay, his belief in his creator, whatever.
Trust.
And there are a lot of tweets coming through, so people are really like
all in
struggling.
one tweet.
He did. He got that in 2.
Oh, that's
Okay.
But I mean, it's just fantastic how people are relating to this topic of
Yeah.
how difficult it is, because this is a reality. We are a mobile society, and people want to improve themselves, and so that means having to move around as well.
And like you said, and like you read out there, trust, a very big important factor.
Very,
of it.
very important
so,
factor.
Now let's say the big day has arrived.
Mark moves back home.
Yeah, Mark moves back home. You've just
Yes.
come back from Dubai or from the oil
Yes.
rigs, and now you're officially together.
Yes.
And it's honeymoon all over again, because it's amazing to see each other now.
It's chaos.
It's amazing.
It's chaos.
It's love.
It's not. It's
sparks.
chaos.
What conversation do you need to have to make sure that you are on the same page?
Yeah.
We're on the same move, on the same boat.
So the first thing that I would want is that people create a ritual of getting back together again, because they've probably spoken about what they're going to do, or maybe it's all about practical things around, you know, what's happening with the money, the children, and now they're actually face to face with each other. Now, under those circumstances, I mean, it depends. If it's an oil rig situation, he's on holiday for 4 weeks, and she's still got to continue with her daily taking care, or her job, or taking care of the kids. And that's when a lot of tension happens, because what are the expectations? It's very important to talk about what are the expectations. If he's coming back to live permanently, or she's coming back to live permanently, what are the expectations? Because there are huge adjustments that have to be made. People develop their rituals, their daily routine, and suddenly you've got to now adjust to each other's daily routines again, whether it's timing, whether it's food, whether it's my role in this relationship, because he or she may have taken on the primary role. What do we do now?
Okay. Well, Dr. Eve, we actually have a caller on the
Yes.
line, Anonymous. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What's your comment or question for Dr. Eve?
Well, I've got a comment. I've met somebody, obviously, on Tinder, and a friend of mine said, you know what, you actually need to swipe in Rome.
You need to?
Swipe, yeah, and then we started chatting, and we've had like this relationship for nearly a full year. His wife is obviously deceased. I've met his son. We do video chat constantly, like regularly. But what I want to say is that the distance between us has taught me also to trust again and to believe in love again. Even though we've been having this long distance thing, there's also future plans, I can say.
Okay.
And I do want to encourage people to not underestimate the power of a distance relationship.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that,
Thank you very
Anonymous.
much, Anonymous.
So has Anonymous met
you.
her person yet?
I believe so.
Yes.
We've actually just done lots and lots and lots of video chats.
Okay, so lots of... But you've never met physically before?
Him, no. Both myself, him, and his son, we've been doing video chats.
Okay. So you've not met him in person yet?
No, we're actually meeting now this coming holiday.
Okay.
That must be very exciting.
Very exciting, but like I said, there's a lot of benefit, like in a long distance relationship. If you've been bruised a lot, like I think I have, and just that distance kind of just made me very like in my own kind of space, I'd say. But yeah, it's just given me hope again to believe in love.
Ah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. We're going to keep our lines open, and you can keep sharing your stories with us, 0214309881. Apparently, absence does maybe make the heart grow fonder in Anonymous's case, but we'll be back with Dr. Eve very shortly.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
To rekindle your relationship after long distance, just sit down with a bowl of amagwenya, some coffee, jam and cheese.
Yeah.
Have a conversation, you know, reconnect again. That's what we're talking about. How do you rekindle it after a long distance relationship? Dr. Eve, you were about to end off and just wrap it up for us by giving some advice. Because, of course, there can be a lot of challenges. There's a lot that's happened over the years or months as it may have turned out. What are some of your top tips then?
So first thing is, if you get into a long-distance relationship, whether by choice, like anonymous, through Tinder and having that kind of situation, be very aware of expectations when you do meet with each other, because everything you've expected is not going to be in reality. So you want to be aware of that, you know, not to be disappointed. And then if you have been in a relationship and for certain reasons you're apart from each other, you come back together with each other, set your expectations clearly as well. I like the ritual that when you get together, be a woman and a man, or partners, woman, man first, before you integrate into a family system. Create a dinner, go out together, feel your way around each other. Don't just imagine that things are going to be comfortable. Just accept that there will be awkwardness and discomfort as you are adjusting to the newness of integrating this person back into your life again. Okay. And so, you know, you want to have the trust, the communication, the ability to keep present in a relationship when you are far away from each other, and it has to be worth it. And if it no longer works, you have to be honest to say, sayonara.
Oh,
it doesn't work.
Just like that.
It doesn't work.
Okay. Well, Dr. Eve, thank you for joining us this morning and sharing
so
your
nice
insight.
To be back.
And thank you to all of our callers that participated.
Yes.
We will be back with Dr. Eve next week as we tackle a new relationship topic.
And by the way, we dig your style, Dr. Eve. This new, what's the inspiration?
What's kind of ripped.
Attacked by a little bear.
Ripped.
Yeah.
Ripped. Yeah,
It's
thank you very much. We're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back. And as always, thanks, babe.
You're cute.